Hey, how's it going? Larry Novarita again here with Nova Woodworks. It's been a while, about 3.5 years since my last video. Sorry about that, I'm not a content guy. I work in the shop, so I'm kind of busy working and doing things in the shop. But anyway, I want to do another video, and this one's going to be about the dust collection system on my 24-inch Laguna resaw bandsaw. And I've done a few upgrades to it. There's a few tips and tricks on using this bandsaw and just a couple things I've learned along the way. And hopefully I can share that with you, and it'll help you if you have, it doesn't have to be a Laguna saw, it could be any saw. And if it helps, that's great. That's all I'm doing this video for. So this is the backside of my Laguna 24-inch resaw bandsaw. What I plan on doing is, you see the way they have the dust port in the back, I don't see where that picks it up really well. So what I'm going to do today is change the piping so that dust port is in the front. This way when the dust falls right off the saw blade, it'll fall right into the port. Well, that's my thinking, and I actually seen that on a YouTube video somewhere. So I'm going to give it a try. And then I also have a Y that goes off into the backside of my fence. I'll go over that later. And then I have one port that goes to the front of the bandsaw too. But the main thing I want to do today is get rid of that port off the back and move it toward the front. Alright, this part's done. So you can see that black patch there. It's a piece of 1/8 inch UHMDF. And I just tacked that over the hole in the same holes that was originally there. I had to extend that pipe over, and now I cut a hole in the front. So that part of the T goes directly in there, and the reason I think that they put it in the back originally, because there was only one piece of metal to go through. Right now that's a double wall that I had to go through. Anyway, then it Y's off like it did before, and it goes into the back of my fence, and I can turn that on or off if I want. And then this one goes into the front of the saw, and I'll take a picture of this because the way I have this going in, I did this some time ago. It goes into that fitting, and the blade goes through it. You've probably seen this on YouTube a few times. People have done something similar to this. But the way I look at it, the saw does come straight down. That'll pick up some of it. And now the new hole is right there. So it should do a better job. If not, looks like I'll have to be vacuuming the inside a little more often. But anyway, I haven't had it on a big resaw job yet to try it out. I'll let you know how that works out. Okay, well, I made some more changes, as you might already have noticed. I moved that to the front, and then I capped off that back one, and I found out that it left more sawdust back there than ever, so I needed to put that one back there. So now I got both of them. And the hole is there. I figured, well, I'll just hook a dust port to that. And I just kept the dust port going to the front. And then also that continues on to the front of the bandsaw. And I haven't tried it yet, but I do have some resawing to do. And I'll see how it's going to work out. Let me walk you over to the front of this, and you see, I cleaned it all up because it's going to be before I start resawing. So I cleaned it all up real nice. And that port has been there as when I move forward, and this is my rear port now. So I've got both hooked up. So that one, the front port, and then this port up here. So we'll see how much that picks up. I actually got rid of the blue flex tube that went up to the back of my fence. I never hardly used it, and it was kind of getting in the way, so we'll see how it works without that. And when I do this resawing, which is, I have some maple boards here that I need to resaw into, I need 4 1/8 inch pieces out of each one. Here's some pieces I got already. So I'll let you know how this thing works on the dust pickup, and we'll go from there. Who knows, I might be changing it again. Alright, I just resawed 2 4-foot sections of that maple I showed you and got 1/8 inch slices out of it. Wanted to show you the amount of dust it left, and we've got some dust in the corner there and some in the back, not as bad as it used to be. And then I also have dust in the door. It's not gonna pick up 100%. I don't care what you do. Anyway, I think it made an improvement. A little bit of dust up here, not bad. I don't miss that dust collector on the back side of my fence. Really don't think that was doing anything to warrant its existence on my saw. And I'll go over that thing on the back here in just a bit. But I wanted to see what it looked like after 2 4-foot boards. And now what I'll do is I will run those guys through and show you what that looks like. So I resawed the other 3 boards, and that's what it looks like. Picked up pretty good. Pretty happy with it. Left a little dust on the ground. Got the majority of the dust inside the machine. A little bit of sawdust on the table. And around this side here. So you're gonna get dust. I don't care what you do. Unless you close this whole thing in a bag. Other than that, pretty happy with it. And we'll go over a few things later that I want to show you about the saw. So after getting done and doing those 3 boards, the 3 last boards, to show you the dust collection system, how it worked a little better, I want to show you what I need to do yet. This is the rest of the job. And I started off with about 100 board feet of 4/4 maple, and there's about 140 board feet of 4/4 premium hard cherry. Now the maple is will be cut into 4 pieces each, and then underneath she needs a little thicker. My customer needs a little thicker, so probably 3 pieces out of each board. But that's what I got to do, and that'll be a good test for the resaw and my dust collector system. So I brought a few pieces of the 4/4 8-foot maple in my shop, and the next step is to cut these into 4-foot sections so that my customer can get them in her car and transport them back to her place. And then I'll put an edge on the one of the edge of the 4-foot sections with the joiner, and it flattens out one edge so it'll make it smooth to run against the table of the bandsaw. So anyway, I wanted to show you also, this is right below where the dust collector picks up. And the reason I want to show you this, because I'm going to eventually put this under power, and you'll see how the dust really picks up from right below the table.
just finished doing 16 4-foot 4/4 maple boards that I run over the joiner, and you've seen the video of one of them getting resawed. I haven't done anything, I haven't cleaned up, I just got done, and I wanted to show you what sawdust I have around from doing those 16 boards. And that's getting 4 pieces out of each board. So I haven't opened up the case yet. Here's the pieces all resawed, and I just got to run them through the sander later. But I wanted to show you real time. I don't even know what to expect in here. Hopefully it's good. Okay. And it is. Oh man. Look at that. Yeah, there's sawdust in there, but that's like nothing. A couple little piles. And then even on the door, a little bit falling out there, not bad. I found out that on this saw it has this thing here that when you push it in, this slides up and gives you a little more protection or more suction by guarding off the area that is being where the sawdust is coming down. So I would say it looks pretty good. I'm really impressed because I know what it was like before. So yeah, I just thought I'd show you all this right now, and then I'll go over some of the other things I want to talk over about my bandsaw that I have done, some tips, and right now pretty happy with this. So anyway, it works and it actually looks much better as far as. So I want to show you a typical resaw job I have for a customer that I do quite a bit of work for. He mills these blocks. He goes out to the forest, finds the trees, cuts them up, mills them, dries them, and then he gives them to me. And then he needs these cut into sets, guitar sets. And these are different pieces of wood. Some are walnut, figured maple, spalted maple. It's kind of a variety of wood. So I've got them all lined up, and when I get them, they're face jointed on one side. That's the side I'm going to start resawing off of. And then I also joint the bottom and make sure they're 90 degrees to the face. So I put all the arrows on them so that once they're resawed, I'll be able to tell actually how they all need to be book matched, and you can't lose track of how they come out from the slab because it'd be impossible to put them together otherwise. So anyway, that's why the little arrows are on there. Each one will get me at least 2 sets. That's 4 pieces, and I usually do this, so I don't know, this is a typical resaw job. If I had to do this without a power feeder, I don't think I'd do it. So I got the resaw set up, and there's the power feeder. I've got my 1-inch carbide tip blade on there, Woodmaster C, and I usually set that at the lowest speed. It's got it's actually got probably 8 speeds on there, but I use low and then the next one up. And then they come off the resaw right here, and then I'll take a picture of the progress after I resaw all this stuff. It's amazing. It's a lot of resawing. So I'm thinking, I don't know how many hours, but I wanted to get a picture before I started. So a little more on the power feeder. It's a Chromatic AF16. Like I said, it has, right now I got it set to 2 speeds. The way it works is there's a knob there. One side has the rabbit, one side has the tortoise. So the rabbit is the faster one, the tortoise is the slower one. And it also has
that'll adjust it for 2 speeds. And then if you need it to go faster, you change the pulley, you change the belt on the pulley, so that speed difference will also give you 2 speeds, but a faster 2 speeds than it's set now. Normally I have it set to, the slow one is 4 feet a minute, and then the fast one is 8 feet a minute. So what happens is, this is on a spring, and this little rod here, this silver rod, when I pull back on the bar, it drops down, and then I pull back on this handle here, you'll see it drop down, and then that allows the spring to go close to the blade. It doesn't touch it. You don't want it to touch the blade, although it has in the past. I'm not paying attention. So real close to the blade, and then when you turn your switch on, you can see, and that's 4 feet a minute neutral, and that's 8 feet a minute. So when I'm resawing all those blocks, it's definitely on slow. And I'm resawing them at approximately 1/4 inch thick slices. And then it feeds it, you can press on that handle so that the rubber tires press against the board, and it pushes it through the blade. Comes out, store it on the shelf there or on the table, and do it over and over and over again. So it works real great. Sometimes I have to take this off. It comes off real easy, 4 bolts. I could do it in about 5 minutes, take it off and put it on, and for different jobs. But for the most part, it stays on, and it works great. I was able to get 2 sets out of it. This first piece here, that's the actual last piece cut. That's the off-wall piece. It's nowhere near the thickness they need. But here's the sets. So this one here, when you put them together, you get a nice book match. And then the other one here, the other set, pretty much the same thing. And there you go. So that'll make a nice guitar back, front. I really don't know. I'm not a guitar maker, but I'm sure a guitar maker will really appreciate that nice figured walnut. Well, there you go. Now I got just a few more to do. Okay. So I just got done resawing all this stuff. Took a little over 3.5 hours. Came out pretty good. The pile on the far right is the off-fall from the last cut. I got mostly 4 out of each 4 pieces, 2 sets, sometimes 3 sets, sometimes at one time, a couple times 4 sets. But anyway, what I wanted to show you, I haven't touched my resaw since I turned my machine off just a few minutes ago, because I wanted to show you the dust collection system on it. That's what I worked on originally, and I wanted to make sure it worked better. And yeah, there's definitely dust, but you got to consider the amount of stock that I just got done resawing. So let's look on the inside. I'm going to just open this up here. And upper part looks great. Oops. And even the lower part. There's some on the bottom, but not that bad. I don't think so, for all the resawing I did today, 3.5 hours straight. So there you go. I think that dust collection system is working great, and I'll stick with it. But now I got to clean it up. That's what they make vacuum cleaners for. Okay, these are all the dust collection changeovers I made here. It's how it's sitting, but I wanted to get back and explain what I've got hanging off the back of my saw. And what this is, it's from a Harbor Freight 2-horse dust collector. And it's the motor, the impeller, and actually also the stand. And no, it's not made in the USA. I put that flag on the back of that motor. The saw is made in Italy, by the way. So the reason I have this is because this saw is at the end of my line on my dust collector, and even though the dust collector has a pretty good suction, what this allows me to do is even make it a lot better. I mean, it really goes. It's a lot stronger. I don't have any test results, but take my word, it makes a big difference. So I have it, you'll see how it's piped up to my regular line that actually is going to the dust collector, which I have sitting in the corner. And that line is open when I use the saw. So I figure that's a pretty long line. I wanted to have a little more suction. That's why I put that on. It works really good. I've got some still shots that as I was changing it over, I will include in this video, and you'll see how because it came in green, can't have it green, got to paint it gray, and how I hooked it up. And also, I wired it so that there's a switch on the back. Well, that's a switch from the actual dust collector. And I wired it right into my electrical box in the saw at 120 volts. And because the saw is 220 volts.
Yeah, you're gonna make it all 220?
Yeah, 220, 221, whatever it takes.
So all you gotta do is turn the switch on when you're resawing, turn your dust collector on, and it makes a really big difference. And then on the bottom here, you'll see in some of the still shots, you can disconnect this hose here and then use it as that's where all the suction comes out of. You can connect it to another tool. And in this case, I have a edge sander in the corner, even further away than this bandsaw is. And that helps that out a lot too. So I just wanted to go over that. One more thing I did that I am really excited about. Normally, well, this saw gets moved around a lot depending on the size of the job I'm using. So I have to use a corded plug. And this is a 30 amp plug, and it was always hard to pull the plug out of the receptacle. So what I did is I got a plug with some holes in it that I can actually grab it and move this, and then I made a extension cord, and then this just goes in there. What's good about it now is that when you want to take the plug out instead of fighting with it, because these are big plugs, just pull it, done. So for me, that's a big game changer. So anyway, I wanted to show you that, and then I'm going to get into setting the blade plumb and level. All right, so one of the things I want to show you how to do, or a tip that's helped me out by resawing, is how to set the blade parallel and plumb with the fence. It's a real important thing, otherwise you're not going to get square cuts on your resaw. So another thing too is the fact that I'm doing this with a carbide tipped saw blade, and there is no set on a, at least I don't think there is on a carbide tipped saw blade, because the width of the carbide is like a table saw blade, and that determines the size of the kerf. So it cuts straight down, and it's a real thin kerf. It's 1/16 of an inch is the kerf this produces, and the teeth on this saw blade are spaced out at every 1.3 teeth per inch. It's a Lennox Woodmaster C carbide tip 1-inch wide saw blade. So that's what I use on this saw. It works great. It's given me a lot of resaws in the past. You've seen some of the pictures I've shown you already. So anyway, I'll show you how to set this blade. Okay, so the first thing you want to do when setting up, at least what I do, is make sure that this blade is 90 degrees to the table. And use a machinist square. You hold it up here, and that'll tell you right now if it's 90 degrees. If it's off, then you have to adjust the table. I don't adjust this table because it's always 90, and it's kind of a pain to adjust to get it perfect. It's dialed in, so that's why I leave it at 90. When people ask me, can you cut stuff on an angle or a bias? Nope, I'm not adjusting my table. It's always going to be perpendicular. And so far it's held its way the whole time. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that this blade is parallel with this face of the fence here. So what I do is I take a little nut. This is a 7/16 nut with a magnet on the back, and then I stick it to my blade. And then what I use is I have a 1 foot stainless, or not stainless, you don't want stainless, you want a steel blade so it'll stick to the magnet. And you take this ruler or blade and you put it right on the magnet. And what happens is the flat of the nut holds the blade flat, the magnet holds it all to that. So basically this face here is the same as the face on the blade. Just make sure you're not hitting any of the carbide teeth. It's got to be in between the gullet, which that is. And then you take your fence, and you can see how I'm moving it over. And what you do when you move it over, and you'll see the gap here. You just keep going in, and then you keep going until the gap gets smaller and smaller, and so that you want to get to shaking. But you can see that one there is perfect. It's set up, it touched there and it touched there, so that means that that fence here is parallel with the body of this blade. So that's one set you got to do. Now we got to get the plumb. We got to make sure the up and down of this. Oh, if there's any adjustment to get it, say it was way off, you just adjust the back bolts on the fence mount and adjust it in or out to get it just how you want it. Okay, so anyway, we got to get it plumb, straight up and down. Take this off, and then you take this magnet and put it on the other side. Then you take a 6-inch steel ruler, and that just sticks right on there. So now that's the same distance from the blade, so it's perfectly set. Now you can do the same thing. You can push it up to the fence where you see the gap, and then the gap gets to be, now it's perfect. It's hitting on top and bottom just fine. If that needs to be adjusted, the way I do it, because it's not going to be adjusted much, this is pretty close on the money, and you'll see over here, right in here, I have a little shim. This is a little business card, and what that's doing, it's causing it to, that bottom of the fence to kick out this way to make it nice and plumb with the table. You can adjust it anyway, just as long as you get it. The main thing is the trick is to get the ruler plumb or parallel so you can set your fence. Now this is a MDF, I'm sorry, this is a, oh, it's not MDF, but anyway, a melamine fence. And this fence here is nice and smooth. It stayed nice and straight for me in many years. You probably don't have this system. You might have something like this with just the fence that comes with, it didn't come with the saw. Yeah, it did come with the saw. This fence came with the saw, and you can take this off and you can do the same thing with those rulers against this fence and adjust it just right. So it's gonna push perfectly straight through that blade. So anyway, just make sure when you're all done and before you start your saw up that you want to take this stuff off. That would make for a bad day. And another thing I have here is when I set the width, because I normally don't, I'm resawing things between 1/8 of an inch to an inch or whatever, and I use a special ruler that has the markings on the end. So then I just, if somebody wants it 1 inch, I'll move that about to the inch to get it in a rough. And the reason I do that, if you didn't have a power feeder, you wouldn't have to worry about it. You could just put a ruler up here and measure it, but this power feeder gets in the way when you're trying to measure. So that's how I adjust the plumb and the parallel distance from the fence to get it nice and straight. First start with a nice square blade to the table, and then do your plumb, and then do your parallel setting with the blade, and get that nice, and it'll go right through there, right straight through there. There should be no drift. There never has been for me, and it's been working well all these years. I've been doing this for many years. So great idea, and you might be able to use that on your saw. Even if you don't have a power feeder, any kind of saw, this is a great way to set it up. So I hope that helps. And okay, one more tip that I want to share with you, and I've learned it online from some YouTuber out there. By the way, there's some YouTubers out there that just amaze me. You guys are really good. You guys can put out a video and make it so interesting and so well narrated. It makes me look like I'm in the Stone Ages here, but I'm trying. So anyway, what I want to tell you is about resawing a board. Say you needed to resaw this board into 1/4 inch wide pieces. So what I like to do, and this works great, after this side is face jointed and nice and flat, you put it on the fence, and you, well, in this case the power feeder would feed it through the saw, and then when it comes through it'll cut it 1/4 inch thick, and it'll be coming off the saw. And then you take the piece that just been resawed and lay it down on your table if you had it set up, and then you take the leftover off-all piece and flip it over like this, end for end, and then you do the same thing. You push it through or feed it through, and it comes through, that falls off, boom, flip it over again, end for end, until you run out of wood to resaw. And then what that does is, if this fence is off just a hair or a half degree or a degree, it's going to compensate for that, and your pieces, after you get all your 1/4 inch pieces cut, they're going to sit nice and flat. You can stack them real high and they're not going to tilt, they're not going to, and it works so good. And then your last piece cut, if you have any left, should be nice and even top to bottom, because it just works so good. So whoever had that tip in the beginning, good tip. I've used it a lot for a lot of the sets that you've seen in the past video I showed, or past part of this video I have shown. That's how I did it, and it works great. And you'll get a nice stack. Instead, in the beginning when I used to do it, I'd stack them, and all of a sudden that stack would start to lean a little bit because it was off, because I just keep running it through. I just run this stuff through without flipping it over, and that, by flipping it over, it really makes a big difference. So that's a really good tip I learned, and I hope that would help you in your resawing. All right. Well, if you stick through this whole video, I just want to thank you for that. It's the end of the day, and I hope you learned something about vacuum systems and resaws and things like that. I hope I helped out in just a little bit. That's what it's all about, helping each other out and doing these videos that I learn a lot off of all the other guys and gals out there too. So anyway, it's the end of the day. The shop is closed. I'm done. I'm gonna have a beer and relax. I'm gonna sit down and relax. And a lot of guys, some guys out there like bourbon, some guys drink coffee, some guys just drink pop. I'm having a beer. So hope everybody has a good day, and I'm gonna relax. No more machines are going on. And thanks for watching.